And we are live. Hello everyone, this is My Two Cents and welcome back to my channel. So last week I did a video response to a YouTuber named Jenna Harmon, a Christian female YouTuber named Jenna Harmon, reviewing her video about how she'd deleted dating apps and how she was waiting for God to bring a man to her, and basically pointing out that I think the real, when just like all these other women who complain about the fact that they're single, about the fact that they can't find a marriage partner, they haven't stopped to consider two things, which are, one, what kind of men are they pursuing for relationships, because no one decides who you spend time with but you, and two, what exactly do you bring to the table when it comes to a relationship? Why should a man want to marry you? And I think she really hasn't considered that, and based on the feedback I got, it was a pretty popular video compared to a lot of what we'd done. Now, I don't typically make a habit of responding to responses, but Jenna has now put up another video on her channel called The Problem with Men and Women Dating Today. She said very explicitly it's not explicitly a response to me, but it's a response to a lot of the feedback she's been getting. I know there's at least one other YouTuber who's responded to her, named Taylor the Fiend. He's actually got a pretty cool channel, a lot bigger than mine if you want to check it out. But I thought the response was extremely telling, showing, again, she really doesn't get it, and all she can do is double down on her belief that she is such a prize, she is so amazing, any guy should want to be with her, that what she really needs to do is, again, teach men what they have to do to get with someone as great as her, all the while not considering, one, why hasn't it worked out with the guys I've chosen to date, and two, what exactly is it I'm bringing to the table when it comes to relationships? But before we get to that video, I wanted to point a couple of things out. So I've got Jenna's Instagram pulled up. Now, in her last video, she said very clearly one of the biggest problems she has with men is that they're not willing to stop giving attention to other girls. They're liking other girls' bikini photos on Instagram, and if you're going to be in a long-term relationship with her, you got to be dedicated to her, and she doesn't like it that you admire other women's beauty. Well, I just find it interesting then that if you look at her Instagram here, look at what kind of photos Jenna's posting. I got pictures of her in sports bras, well, I mean, not bikinis per se, but pretty revealing, skimpy outfits here. She's not afraid to show off that cleavage. Not afraid to show off those legs. And if we take a look at any of these photos, definitely a lot of people are liking them. Most of them probably men. So isn't it a little interesting? She's a strong Christian woman. She doesn't want men lusting after other women, but she seemed perfectly content to post lots of photos of herself and have men liking them, and who knows what else after doing what after they're looking at these photos. I mean, this tells me this is a girl who absolutely loves attention. She loves getting male attention, and further, it is a girl who has a skewed view of how valuable she is as a marriage partner. Because I'm sure she puts up these sexy photos, she gets all these likes, she probably gets hundreds of messages from random men saying, "Oh, you're so beautiful, you're so amazing, what do I have to do to get with someone like you?" Of course, none of whom she's actually interested in, so she ignores it, but it makes her believe, wow, I must really be something special. Well, I must really be a catch. Men, look at all these men telling me how beautiful they are, about how beautiful I am, all the while not realizing these are just men who are desperate for female attention. They're sending messages to any woman they can find, hoping it's going to result in one of these women messaging them back and wanting to date them. Of course, it's not. But the reality is, even though she's physically attractive, even though she's got lots of men telling her she's physically attractive, that doesn't mean she's a good candidate for marriage. It doesn't mean she's going to make a good wife. And it doesn't mean that the highest quality men that she's attracted to are going to ditch all the attention they're getting from all the other women just to be with her. And another thing, I'm going to start a little bit, I'm not going to start right at the beginning of her video here because it's just a text comment of her saying, in responding to all the guys who have responded to her, the guys she was complaining about in that initial video, they were not just the top 10 to 20% of men. They were the bottom 80% of men. She's not fooling around with the highest quality men, the men she was dating who were causing all these problems, who weren't willing to cut ties with other females, and who were treating her poorly. They were not the top 10 to 20% of men. I think Jenna may well believe that, but I also think she probably has a pretty skewed view of the population of men in general. Because again, she's reasonably physically attractive, and she talks about how she works in her video. She's going to talk about how hard she works to stay in shape and look good, which means that all her life she's probably spent time with mostly attractive people. And you have to stop and consider the fact that in our daily lives, there are people we interact with and people we don't interact with, people we pass by without giving it a second thought. And a lot of women, especially women who are more on the attractive side, think that they're dealing with average men, all the while not realizing when you consider the male population as a whole, the vast majority of men are completely invisible to them because they're not attracted to them at all. And the men they do spend time with at all, they think those are what all men are. So I'm going to pull up another article here. So let's take this down here and share another screen here. Okay, so women find 80% of men unattractive, says crazy study. Now, they say it's a crazy study, but I don't think it's so crazy considering where it comes from. And when you so basically, to sum up this article, which is a study that was done on OkCupid, a very popular dating site, it crunched the decisions women are making, the things they're putting about men that they are attracted to on a dating site. And you have to remember, people aren't going to lie on a dating site. They're on a dating site because they want to find someone that they're attracted to, they want to date. This is the place they're actually going to tell the truth about what kind of men they're attracted to. And it found that 80% of men are rated as unattractive, not average, actively unattractive. And when you consider that women in general find 80% of men unattractive, I mean, it makes sense. Women are instinctively hypergamous. They're instinctively drawn to the highest quality men. But it also shows that when it comes to the men they choose to interact with and the men they completely avoid, the men that they would vomit if you even suggested that they should want to date, they have a skewed view of who they're dealing with. They might think the men they're dealing with are average, in fact, in fact, their standards are so high that the men they're dealing with actually are in the top 10 to 20% of men. They just don't realize it because the vast majority of men are invisible to them. And if you doubt this, and you know what, it said the browser can't access the screen. Hang on, let me try this one more time just to make sure everybody actually saw it. All right, yeah, it's up there. So for whatever reason, I lost that screen for a second. But that's okay because we're about to go to the actual video. I strongly suspect, even though Jenna thinks that the men she was dealing with are average, really she has a skewed view because since she is a relatively attractive woman and she deals primarily with attractive people, she doesn't stop to realize there's a whole other world of people out there. Most men she would find so repulsive, so actively unattractive, that she wouldn't even consider them, that she doesn't realize that, yes, the men she was complaining about really are the top 10 to 20% of men, and if she would choose, she could, if she so desired, choose to give other men a chance, men who are shorter, men who are overweight, men who are not physically attractive but might have the strong Christian values that she's supposedly looking for. If she chose to give them a chance, she could easily find a man willing to follow all her rules, who's got strong Christian values, who's everything else she was talking about in that video, but she chooses not to because despite what she says, Christian values and following her rules are not the things that are most important to her. The thing that is most important to her is that she get the tingles from him and that she be immensely physically attracted to him, which is only a small percentage of men. If you choose to only pursue the small percentage of men, those men have options, and you shouldn't be surprised when they are not willing to settle down with you because they have a lot of options. It's been appropriately said that in every romantic relationship, the person who needs the other the least has all the power. So if you're a woman, even an attractive woman, and you're pursuing a man who's very attractive, lots of women are into him, the fact is he's not going to want to follow all the rules you make for him. And most likely, he's not going to care about all the rules you make for him because he knows if you end the relationship because he's not willing to follow your rules, he's got plenty of other women. He can get another girlfriend like that. On the other hand, if a guy is, please don't leave me, I'll do whatever you want, just tell me what you got to do, what I have to do to keep you, that shows that he is in fact less attractive than she is. She has more options than he does, and he knows if he loses her, it's going to be very hard for him to get another girlfriend. Therefore, he's not really one of those top 10 to 20% of men that most women want. But let's go ahead and start looking at Jenna's actual video here. Now, I want you to consider the question. In my response, I told Jenna, if you are single and unhappy about it, the two things you need to consider: one, who are you choosing to date, and who are you actively choosing not to date? And two, what do you bring to the table? Why should a man want to be with you and only you? Why is his life going to be so much better if he commits to you for life in a marriage relationship? Let's find out. Did she actually answer either of those questions? So getting the video pulled up here. All right, there we go. And let's take a look here.
Been other videos made about me. This one guy made one about me. I think.
Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. So, like I said, I didn't show the intro because it was just that comment where she said that the men she was complaining about in that video were not the top 10 to 20% of men. But she said other people have made a video, and then bear in mind, Taylor the Fiend made a video about her, and she made a specific response to Taylor the Fiend in which she identified him. And then here she said other creators have made videos about me, and this guy, who she does not identify, made a video about me. Now, I have searched. I've used every search term I can think of with Jenna Harmon, response, debunked, MGTOW, red pill, anything like that. And so far as I can tell, the only two people that have actually made response videos to her are Taylor the Fiend and myself. She chose to specifically respond to Taylor the Fiend. She chose not to respond to me by name. Now, and actually, if you go to this video, you can see I left a comment pointing this out. And in her response to me, which she did respond to the comment, she acts like she has no idea who I am. That multiple creators have made video responses to her. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe there are smaller channels out there that their videos don't show up in the algorithm when you search that responded to her and she knows about it. But I'm going to point two things out. One, she has less subscribers than I do. And two, I specifically tagged her both in my YouTube video response and on Twitter. I find it very difficult to believe she's not aware of who I am or that I responded to a video. She chose not to identify me or respond to me specifically. I'm not going to make any presumptions about why that is, just pointing it out.
It's hilarious because you're sitting there behind your screen making a video about a 25-year-old woman making these assumptions and claims and all these things. First of all, I don't have kids.
Okay, so she's saying you're sitting behind your screen. I don't see how that's relevant, Jenna. You put a video out there. By making it, you opened yourself up to criticism. Now, you can say that guys are making assumptions about you, which is probably true. The question is, are they good assumptions or bad assumptions? If they are bad assumptions, you can correct them. If they are good assumptions, if you get angry about the assumptions they make, I would ask, why are you angry? Because if they're completely untrue, totally off base, it seems, very ridiculous to have any kind of emotional response at all. Yet you don't like the fact that guys are making these assumptions. I wonder why that is. Oh, and Coding Jesus just gave us a super chat here. She doesn't care about you. Why should she? You're nobody to her, just some person on the internet. Very well. Fair enough. And it's her right not to respond to me. I'm just pointing out she specifically responded to Taylor the Fiend. She didn't specifically respond to me, which is her prerogative. Continuing.
I'm
Oh, and one other thing. So she now has told us she is 25 years old. Which means she's really at the peak of her physical attractiveness. At this point, she has passed her prime, and she further said she's not a virgin. Now, I pointed out that a Christian man who values Christian woman's actions, not simply the things she says, who wants a successful marriage, he's going to take into account the fact that the more sexual partners a woman has before marriage, the less likely the marriage is to be a success. Further, if she's already given up her virginity to another man, which is really her most powerful bargaining chip when it comes to marriage, especially to a Christian man who cares about Christian ethics, why on earth would he want to marry her? But also, although she's not yet hit the wall, she is definitely past her prime. Females' physical attractiveness hits its peak around 23. She's still pretty much at her prime, but as far as her youth, beauty, and fertility, and virginity, the things that make her most valuable to a marriage-minded man with Christian values, they're already past their prime. So as far as I would again ask Jenna, why does she think that a good, attractive Christian man with all these values, who's going to follow all these rules, why would he want to be with you? What does she bring to the table? Is she ever going to answer that question?
There's so many assumptions that you guys made about me that are completely not even true
Okay, you're free to point those out.
At all. Well, hello there. So my last video, the comment section was insane. Some of you are just straight up holes. Some of you are very...
Okay, that could be true, Jenna. Maybe some of the people in the comment section are mean. That doesn't mean what they said was necessarily untrue. And that's where I don't... When your initial response to people criticizing you is that they're impolite, they're mean, they're rude, I mean, honestly, so what? Isn't the goal here for us to learn, to figure out how we can improve ourselves? I mean, you obviously want to find a relationship, and you are allegedly trying to teach men what they can do to get with a girl who's as amazing as you. If you're wrong, don't you want to know it? And if not, why not? I mean, if I'm wrong, I want you to point it out. If the people in your comment section are wrong, it should be very easy to point out why they are wrong. If you just say they're rude, they're mean, I mean, maybe they are, doesn't mean what they're saying is untrue.
Encouraging, and some of you are kind of neutral. So a lot of the comment section was actually filled with different forms of misandry, misogyny, and feminism.
Okay, misandry, misogyny, and feminism. All buzzwords that I don't feel the need to get into right now. Basically, what was in the comment section was either right or it was wrong. If it was wrong, point it out. If it was mean, I'm sorry, I don't care. We're trying to figure out what's true here.
That you can be a woman like me, and you can support equal rights. You can just support...
Okay, also, in her specific response to Taylor the Fiend, she identifies herself as a feminist. Now, if a woman identifies as both a Christian and a feminist, run the other way. The two are completely incompatible, and I'm not going to get into that now, but I should point out she specifically identified herself as a feminist. She made a number of claims about that feminists commonly make that are long debunked. Taylor the Fiend, in his response to her, dealt with most of those, so I'm not going to go into that now. But
support encouraging women, you can support celebrating women. It's literally just
celebrating women. I mean, why should I celebrate women in general? If I'm a marriage-minded man looking for a marriage partner, I'm looking for a woman who exhibits Christian values and exhibits the things that I want, characteristics that I want in a wife. I don't need to celebrate women just because they're women. I mean, imagine how absurd it was. Let's celebrate men because men are men. Being a man means absolutely nothing. If you are a man and you want the attention of women, you have to prove that you're a valuable man, that you have things that women ought to want. Women, on the other hand, believe they should be given all the praise and adoration just because they're women.
Just that, it's nothing else. If you take what I said and you say, yeah, but it's this and that, I'm not talking about the rest of that. I'm not talking about that. I'm literally just talking about supporting your women and
just supporting women, okay? You were saying in your video all the problems you have had with guys. Guys treated you poorly, and you want a guy who does this, this, and this. All I did, and all others have pointed out, is there are plenty of men out there who would be willing to do that, but you apparently are uninterested in dating those men, which shows that despite the fact that you claim the most important thing to you is that a man have Christian values, that he not like other girls' bikini photos, and that, and whatever else, what's really important to you is not those things. It's that you also be attracted to them. And despite what you may say, given the choice, you will always choose the guy who's in the top 10, 20% of men, the guy you are actively attracted to, over the guy who has Christian values. And if you disagree, Jenna, my question to you is this. Have you ever dated a guy who's shorter than you? Have you ever dated a guy who's overweight? Have you ever dated a guy who you would say he is unattractive physically, but I am choosing to date him because of his strong Christian values, or because he loves me like no man ever has, or because of his commitment and his willingness to, his belief in equal rights and his willingness to follow my rules? I think we all know the answer to that question.
Loving your women. All men are not bad, but a lot of you men that are coming in the comment section are proving my point that there are a lot of men that have a lot of hate towards women.
Okay, and again, if you disagree with what she said, if you point out the flaws in what she said and how anyone who's lived in the real world for 5 minutes can see that the only reason she's having the problem she has is, one, because she's not wife material, and two, because she is deliberately choosing to pursue only the top 10 to 20% of men who have other options, and then expect them to treat her just like she's a goddess and wife material. That means you're hateful. Okay, I mean, That's just name calling. If you think that what they're saying is wrong, I challenge you to prove it. If you think it's hateful, I'm sorry, that doesn't mean anything to me. It's just a way to shut down conversation. Again, you're a meanie. I don't have to listen to you because I don't like what you said. You might not like it, doesn't mean it's untrue.
Okay, and you can label it as misogyny. It doesn't necessarily have to be. You can label.
Yeah, and a good feminist, anything you say that they don't like, they will label as misogyny.
Label it as you being bitter because your dating life isn't working out. We've all been there. I've been in that situation. But if you want change to happen, and it's going to start with yourself.
Incidentally, nice cleavage, Jenna. Again, you say you don't want men liking other women's bikini photos. You're not like that. You want them dedicated to you, but you apparently have no problem posting all kinds of photos on your Instagram, and you're in this video looking sexy in a low-cut top like that.
If you want change to happen in the dating pool, it needs to start with yourself.
Okay, absolutely, I agree. If you want some change to happen in the dating pool, it needs to start with yourself. Can you take your own advice, Jenna? Again, you are the one in your initial video who was claiming that you're just having problems finding a relationship. You are reasonably physically attractive, which means I know there must be men who would be willing to date you. Of course, that doesn't mean you're interested in dating with them, which is your prerogative. You can choose to date or not date whoever you want. But you have to ask the question, if you had all these bad relationships, every guy you choose to date treats you poorly, they're not willing to follow your rules, they don't share your Christian values, have you stopped to look in the mirror? If all your relationships have been horrible, tell me, what is the common denominator in all your relationships? You. You are the one who chooses who you spend time with. You are the one who chooses who you're going to date. So if you are in a situation where you can't seem to find a guy who wants to date you, who wants to marry you, who you're both attracted to, and who follows all your rules, you need to ask a question. Why might that be? And could it be because I am not as high value as I really think I am? Might it be that if I want to have a man who's willing to follow all my rules, I might have to lower my standards? Again, you could decide. It is perfectly acceptable for you to decide, look, if a guy's not over 6 feet tall, if he's not handsome, if I'm not actively attracted to him, and he doesn't follow all my rules, I'd rather remain single than be in a relationship with a guy who's not all those things. Fair enough. That's your choice. But you also have to own that choice. You can't then claim that other people are responsible for why you're single. You could be in a relationship if you wanted to be. You could find a man who'd be willing to follow all your rules. If he just, you can't like other people's Instagram photos. You can't like bikini photos. We've got to share. You've got to have strong Christian values. You could find a guy who'd be willing to do all those things. You just might not be attracted to him. What are you willing to sacrifice? And further, you're telling other people that if you want there to be change, they need to look in the mirror. Well, I'm sending it back at you. You are the one who needs to look in the mirror.
That's what I had to do. Right now I'm in.
Okay, then why are you not in a relationship? You say, I have to look in the mirror. Have you made any changes that have resulted in you being able to find a relationship? I'd like to know.
A really good spot with my dating life, and
Okay, she's in a really good spot with her dating life. Okay, good. I'll take her word for it. But then if that's the case, I wonder why you feel the need to make this video in response. If you're in if other people are criticizing you and about saying and criticizing your dating life and none of it's true, I wonder why you felt the need to make this rant.
I had to evaluate some things, okay? And you guys sit behind your little computer screens on the internet and you act like little, like you get so mad and angry.
Again, if something that I or anyone else has said is untrue, you can point it out. If you just think it's mean, not my problem.
You type all these things out trying to prove your point and this and that. No offense, a lot of the men that are in the comment section that are saying all these mean things, I wouldn't even talk to. And it's not because you're not in the 80%. It's because...
Okay, yeah, it kind of is. Again, Jenna, I'd ask the question, have you ever dated a guy who's shorter than you? Have you ever dated a guy... Again, I'm not going to go through all the characteristics. Have you ever dated a guy who you would say, I find him average or physically unattractive... No, I find him physically unattractive, but I'm choosing to date him anyways because of reason X? I think we all know the answer. And yes, you wouldn't talk to guys who are mean to you. Fair enough.
Because you're mean, you come across as not approachable.
Another thing, how many people here want to bet she would be willing to date someone who was mean to her so long as he gave her the tingle, so long as suppose Mr. 6'2", makes $1 million a year, handsome, whatever else comes along, says he's a Christian, has strong Christian values, but treats her really poorly. Who wants to bet she would try to give him a chance, and she would give him a chance and try to change him, give him a chance to change because she's so attracted to him? I mean, I'm speculating, but I think based on what we know about female behavior, we can say it's a pretty safe bet. She wouldn't care so much about him being mean so long as she was extremely attracted to him.
You come across as, I hate to say it, and I know everyone denies this, but very misogynistic.
Yeah, again, misogynistic. I don't like what you said, therefore you hate women. If what they said's untrue, point it out. If not, then, well, it's either true or it's false. That's what I'm concerned about here, Jenna.
You come across as very bitter, and that's just what I'm telling you. A lot of you have also said that in your dating history, it's very hard for a man to get a woman. And I was reading through a lot of the comments, okay? I haven't even had a chance to respond to a lot of them, but I was reading through a lot of the comments, and I understand where you're coming from. I get it. I understand women do have more options than men do. 100%.
Okay, good to see that she acknowledges that.
But my encouragement to you is this. If you want a woman like me...
I don't.
If you don't, then don't take any of this advice. If you think I'm like disgusting and you hate my personality, that's...
Okay, I don't think you're disgusting. The question I'm asking is, you want what you said in that video, you want a strong Christian man with Christian values who's not gonna like other girls' bikini photos, who's gonna follow these rules you set out for him, who's gonna treat you the way you want to be treated, to marry, and you want that guy to commit to you and marry you. My question is, why do you think he should? What do you bring to the table that's going to make his life so much better? I see a girl who loves attention. If you you love getting attention from guys, it gives me concerns about whether or not you'd be faithful, given how much you love attention from guys. You're very good at looking physically beautiful, but physical beauty fades. What skills do you have that are going to be useful as a wife and as a mother? Do you believe there are any expectations put upon you when you enter into marriage? Are you going to have obligations to your husband? I'd love to know about that. Further, what are your beliefs about divorce? Are you abhorred by the fact that divorce rates are going up, that 70% of divorces are initiated by women, and that men can absolutely be raked over the coals, have their kids taken away from them, be forced to pay child support to their wives, divorcing them for frivolous reasons? Are you at all concerned about those things? I mean, if so, if you were actively talking about those kind of things, I might be more convinced that there would be men out there who'd be willing to marry you. But if you just think you think you're such a prize, my question is why? Why should any guy want to marry you?
It's fine. Then don't watch this video, go watch someone else's video. But if you want a woman that has some characteristics like me and some mindset...
Okay, and again, why should any guy want to be with you? You're physically attractive, great. Beautiful girls are a dime a dozen. What do you bring to the table? Why are you going to be an amazing wife and mother? How is any man's life going to be so much better with you in it?
Tactics like I do, then listen to this advice because I'm here to help you. And
it kind of reminds you of Tommy Lahren, right? I'm a teacher. I'm going to teach men how to get a girl like me. The reality is, if a guy comes to a woman and says, please, I want to be with you so bad, just tell me what I have to do and I'll do it. Guys, by even asking her that question, you have just disqualified yourself from being the kind of man she's going to be attracted to. Attractive guys do not grovel to women, begging them to tell them what they have to do. If you want women to be attracted to you, you need to work on raising your value as a man. And that goes both ways. If a woman wants a man to be attracted to her, well, there are basically two things. If a woman wants a man to be attracted to her so that they can have fun in the bedroom, all she has to worry about is being physically attractive. And it seems to me that that's all Jenna does worry about. So it's not a surprise then that that the men she ends up associating with are only interested in her for bedroom fun. On the other hand, if you want to be a wife and a mother, you have to cultivate the traits in yourself that are going to make you a good wife and a good mother. And in which case, you're then going to attract men who are looking for that specifically. By the same token, men need to cultivate characteristics in themselves that are going to make women attracted to them. And if you even ask a girl, what do I have to do for you to be attracted to me? I promise you, the moment the words are out of your mouth, she's never going to be attracted to you again, because that just makes you look desperate and pathetic, and that's not attractive. Women want leaders who are confident, not guys who are going to grovel to them and capitulate to their every demand. Now, don't get me wrong, women might say they want this, but their behaviors, they will always run away and start chasing that guy who's not doing what they want, who has options.
I have had men ask me to give my take on this. So my thing...
Okay, and have you ever gone out on a date on one of those men? Have you ever chosen to date a guy who came to you and said, Jenna, please, you're so beautiful, you're so wonderful, all I want is a relationship with you. Just tell me what I gotta do and I'll do it. Have you ever chosen to date him? I wonder.
Thing is, what are you doing to improve yourself? Like...
Okay, you know, that's actually good advice. If you're a man and you want to be in a relationship with a woman, but women don't find you attractive, you should be actively trying to improve yourself. But the same goes for you, Jenna. If you're not in a relationship, if you can't seem to find a relationship with a good man as you define it, I gotta ask you, what are you doing to improve yourself? What are the characteristics that are going to make you an amazing wife and mother that should make a attractive, good Christian man want to marry you?
You don't have to make $100,000 a year. You don't have to reach this price point gap that you make. You can have other things going for you too.
Okay, granted. But I think it's safe to say she probably would be more attracted to the guy who makes more, as opposed all other things being equal. I mean, and that's not wrong. I mean, women are inherently hypergamous, just like men are inherently polygamous. It's just the way it is. You can accept that, or not. But accepting it, definitely, accepting that that's the reality, definitely is going to improve your dating life.
It's about getting a vision, getting a plan. Like, what are you doing to stand out? This is going to come across maybe mean, and I'm sorry, but this is the...
Oh, okay, so it's okay for her to come across mean. It's just not okay for the guys in her comment section to come across mean.
Reality, okay? And it goes with both gender roles, too. I am busting my butt in the gym 5 times a week. Okay, I care about eating clean. I care about working out. I care about maintaining my aesthetic look. You know.
Okay, she cares about being good looking. Good for you, Jenna. I go to the gym 6 times a week. But I don't think that merely doing that is going to make me the kind of man that's going to be a good husband and a good father. I mean, is it an ass? Is it something that is good to do? Absolutely. But the mere fact you work very hard on staying physically beautiful. Good, but as I said, being physically attractive, if your sole focus is remaining physically attractive, then the only thing you're going to be good for is having fun in the bedroom. If you want guys to want you to be a wife and a mother, you need to cultivate characteristics that are going to make them want you as a wife and the mother of their children. And one of the most important ones, staying a virgin before marriage, you've already admitted is not the case. So the highest quality marriage-minded men are immediately going to throw you out. They're not going to consider you because that, one of the most important things, you've already said is no longer the case. What does it mean you'll never be married? No, but it means you might have to lower your own standards for the men you're willing to marry.
You know, I'm an esthetician, skincare is my game, cosmetics, like all that stuff. Okay, I have my side hobbies, I have my interests, I have like my things that I'm working towards, I have my goals, my dreams, my aspirations. I try really, really hard to have these things and maintain them. Okay, so because...
Good for you. Again, doesn't make you wife material. It means you can remain physically attractive. And granted, I'm not saying you're not physically attractive, but also you're definitely past your peak and you're fast approaching the wall. So why? And seeing as you're not, that combined with the fact that you're not a virgin, that combined with the fact that I haven't heard anything about what you've done to prepare to be a wife and a mother, I can't say I'm surprised that high-quality marriage-minded men are not considering you.
Because of the effort that I put into myself and my life, I'm looking for someone that can match that or go above that.
Okay, fair enough. You want a guy who can match your fitness levels or go above that. He doesn't have to want you. If you want a guy who matches your fitness level or goes above it, fair enough. We're all free to want whatever we want. But if you can't find a guy who's that and all the other things you want, you need to ask yourself, what are you willing to sacrifice? You might have to pick a guy who's not as physically fit as you would like, considering the fact that you're not as high quality as you think you are.
And that can be in different ways. Okay, so no, I'm not going to date someone that sits in their parents' basement, smokes weed all day, and this is what Fresh and Fit talks about, and this is what Kevin Samuels talks about too, and they...
Okay, Fresh and Fit, Kevin Samuels, I mean, there's some good content on those channels. I'm personally a little concerned about Fresh and Fit. I think they're another one of these dating coach scams. Just based, I think they're probably more into making guys spend hundreds of dollars for their advice, even though they might have some, good information on their channel. But I'm not going to get into that.
They support this too. Yeah, no, I'm not going to talk to someone that does those things because...
Okay, fair enough. You can choose, and I would say the guy you've just described probably isn't someone most girls would want to date. But then the question becomes, most girls want to date the top 10 to 20% of men. The top 10 to 20% of men are only going to, if they do choose to marry, are only going to choose the highest quality woman. If you're not that woman, you might have to accept the fact that the only men that are going to be willing to marry you aren't going to be exactly what you want. Now, you can either accept that and choose to remain single, or you can lower your standards. I mean, it's up to you. You can make that decision. But if you choose, I'd rather remain single than date or marry a guy who doesn't have all these characteristics, you can't turn around and complain that other people are at fault or that men need to change because you can't find what you want.
Because what is it going to add to my life? Okay? What is it going to do for me? I'm busting my butt doing all these things.
Okay, good question. What is that guy going to do for you? Now, have you asked the question, Jenna? What do you do for them? Why are you going to make a man's life better? I haven't heard anything in your video so far about what you are going to do to make a man's life better. I'd love to hear it.
I'm sure that I am in shape, whatever, and I'm not settling for that. And women that are in similar places as me and that care about some of those points like I do, we're not going to talk to men that are not going to help lift us up. That's just what it comes down to.
Okay, fair enough. But if the men you want to talk to aren't willing to talk to you, you can either not talk to men, or you can talk to the men who are willing. And if the men who you want aren't interested in you, have you looked in the mirror and considered why?
So my encouragement to you is, if you want a woman that's an 8, 9, or 10, or if you...
Which definitely is not you, Jenna. You are not wife material, and even physically, I'd say you're probably not an 8, 9, or 10. You're attractive, but...
Even... She doesn't even have to be an 8, 9, or 10. She could be a 7, she could be a 6, but she has different qualities and characteristics that you really want in a woman, and you're like, why aren't I attracting her? What do you have to do to be that person, to be...
And just as an aside again, most of these Instagram-type women who post lots of sexy photos of themselves, they believe they are 10s. And the reason they believe that is because they get all these likes and all these messages. Oh, you're so beautiful, you're so wonderful. Because none of them from guys they actually want to date. But they think to themselves, look at all these guys that are liking my photos. Look at all these guys who are sending me DMs. Or, they manage to have bedroom fun with a guy who's really attractive, and they think, he was willing to have fun in the bedroom with me, I must be something special. The reality is no. Guys, whether they're super attractive, whether they're unattractive, most guys are willing to have fun in the bedroom regardless of how attractive the woman is. The fact that they're willing to have fun in the bedroom says little about whether or not you're actually a catch for marriage. The fact that hundreds of guys are liking your photos says very little about whether or not you're actually attractive for marriage.
Desirable to the other gender. I had to switch some things up.
And she's going on and on about physical attractiveness again. She says in that video that I initially responded to, the most important thing apparently is that guys have strong Christian values and not like other girls' bikini photos and all this other stuff. But this seems to me like a tacit admission that the primary thing she's looking for is physical attractiveness, not all these other things that she'd like but can't demand.
I would go through, because of my religious background, I would go through different periods. This is years and years ago, and I don't know the exact dates, so for people coming at me in the comment section, looking at my old videos, whatever, that's fine, but I don't know the exact dates, but there would be different periods, you can even look on my Instagram, different periods of time, months, where I wouldn't post any shoulders, I wouldn't post any body pictures, I wouldn't show, who I am at all, and I would be wondering, why aren't I attracting the types of men that I really want? And it's because I wasn't even showing who I am as a person.
Okay, so the kind of men she wanted needed to be attracted by showing skin. That tells me that the kind of men she's looking for are the kind that are only looking for fun in the bedroom. I mean, I don't know what more I can say. And again, you were complaining that you don't want men liking other girls' bikini photos. You don't want men liking other girls who show skin. Yet you do it yourself to attract those very men. Who really is at fault for all the problems you're experiencing? You are the one deciding who you're going to date. No one decides that but you. If you're having problems with all the men you're dating, they're not willing to follow your rules, I have to wonder why.
Person as a whole, you know, if I'm looking for someone that is, if I want someone that's in the gym, that's active, that's healthy, if I want someone that is good with their finances, that has a plan, if I want someone that is aspirational and achieves their dreams and all these things, then I have to have parts of those in me.
Okay, you think I have to have... She's talking all about physical beauty, posting photos of herself being physically beautiful. She wants, and this is really a tacit admission, yeah, she wants a guy who's good with finances. She wants a guy who's in the gym. She wants a guy who's physically attractive. I want. What do you bring to the table, Jenna? You're physically beautiful? Beautiful girls are a dime a dozen. Why are you marriage material? You're not a virgin, so that already puts you way lower on the roster. I mean, have you cultivated homemaking skills? Do you care about children? Are you abhorred by the divorce epidemic, and do you hate it? Do you hate hearing stories about women totally screwing their husbands over and leaving them for frivolous reasons? If not, why on earth should any man want to marry you? Because you're beautiful? I mean, goodness.
I need that too, because like attracts like, and whether or not you admit it, whenever you are looking for a partner, you are actually looking for bits of yourself in that person, and that's what makes you attracted to them.
And if you're looking primarily for a guy who is physically attractive, which most women are, and that's not wrong. If you are a woman and you are just staunchly, I would rather die than marry a guy or date a guy who's not the top 10, over 6 feet tall, handsome, makes a ton of money, that's what I want, and I'm not settling for anything less. I mean, you do you, girl. But have you stopped to consider the fact that the vast majority of women are also looking for that guy, which means he has tons of options. As I said before, the person who needs the other the least has all the power in the relationship. So if he's not willing to follow, if you start making all kinds of rules for a guy like that, like if you want to be with me, you got to do this, you got to do that, there's no way he's going to go along with that. He's got options. You can either accept that and choose a guy who's not quite as high value as him, who is willing to follow your rules, or you can choose to remain single. But again, who is at fault here? Who's responsible for the fact that you're single? Who chooses who you associate with?
I was talking to my friend the other day, and he was like, yeah, I like girls that have brown hair and green eyes, and it's because they look like me. And I'm like, I understand, like, I get it. So my whole thing with that is do what you can to improve yourself, and I'll make another video on that.
Oh, okay, and again, I don't disagree with the advice she's giving here. If you want to be in a romantic relationship, you should be trying to improve yourself. You should be, whether you're a man or a woman, you should try and be cultivating the characteristics that make you more attractive to the opposite sex. But again, I just like to point out how absurd this would be if a man were to make the same kind of video. Imagine if this would happen. A guy said, you know what, I am working so hard, I'm in the gym every day, I'm working to get a better job, and I just can't seem to find a woman. And you ask him, well, what are you looking for in a woman? Well, you know, the primary thing that's most important to me is that she have the body of a supermodel. She has to have perfect measurements. I mean, honestly, I'd really like her to be actively employed with Victoria's Secret or Guess or Sports Illustrated. She's got to be the exactly 5'5", shorter than me, obviously. She's got to have really long hair, a perfect body. She's got to be a virgin. She's got to want to be a homemaker and all these other things. But I will settle for absolutely nothing less. I think the hysterical laughter, any guy who said that would instantly be told, you are delusional, man. There are the amount of women in the world that actually meet all those standards is so infinitesimally small. And further, even if you did find her, why on earth is she going to want to be with you? If she's that high value, she's got options. Why on earth is she going to pick you and not, you know, someone else, whether he's a professional athlete, billionaire CEO, or whatever else? But you got to look in the mirror and realize, yes, you should be doing everything you can to improve yourself. But men are routinely told, look, you got to start being realistic. If you're shorter, if you make, you know, $50,000 a year as opposed to $100,000 a year, if you're not quite as well built as that other guy, you need to accept the fact that women aren't going to be as attracted to you, and you might have to settle for less than the optimal of what you want. And most guys eventually come to that realization. It's women, on the other hand, who are shooting for the moon. They think they are just goddesses. They deserve everything they could ever possibly want, and they never even consider, Why on earth would that perfect guy want to be with me? What makes me so much better than every other woman? Have you considered that?
To kind of just give you some insight on that, because it's possible you can find a good woman, you can find someone that you really like, but it's going to start with taking your attitude down. It's going to start with taking your sword down and not being so, it's always the woman's fault. It's always the woman's fault.
It also might mean accepting the fact that you're never going to, that you are not as attractive as you think you are. You might have to settle for less than everything you want. Most men eventually come to realize that. If they want to be married, and honestly, the fact that courts and legal system have made marriage such an unattractive option for men in general is part of the problem here. But men also eventually come to terms with the fact that they're going to have to settle for less than everything they want. They can describe an optimal woman in their mind, but they're never going to find her. And even if they do, she's not going to be interested in him. Jenna, have you stopped to consider you might not be as attractive as you think you are? You might not be as marriageable as you think you are. You might have to settle for less than all these things you're looking for. I hear in your videos over and over, I want, I want, I want. Have you taken your own advice? Have you looked in the mirror and asked, what is it that makes me attractive to men? And it seems to me you've asked that question at least a little, and you think it's your physical beauty. Again, I'll say great. Physical beauty is a dime a dozen. There are tons of beautiful girls out there. And further, you said you're 25. 5 years from now, you're going to be 30. And there are going to be 23-year-old women far more beautiful than you who are going to be more attractive to the men you're trying to marry. The clock is ticking. The period at which of your life when you were most attractive to marriage-minded men has already passed. And further, and probably your most powerful bargaining chip to marriage-minded Christian men, your virginity, that's already gone. You might have to settle for less than what you're looking for.
Fault. It's both of our faults. It's your fault, it's my fault, it's this.
And that's the only thing I've heard so far that I really agree with. Yeah, it is your fault, Jenna, but I think you haven't focused as much on that part as you should.
Society's fault. It is all of our faults, okay? There is never one side to a story. There's multiple sides to a story. And if you want the results that you want, make a plan. How are you going to get there? If you want to top a woman or top a man, are you going to get there if you're just sitting in your room all day smoking weed?
No, but I think also what a lot of men today are realizing is because women aren't willing to settle, because they have impossibly high standards like you do, because they feel so entitled, even if they ever do manage to lock one of those women down, it's going to be unbearable. She's so convinced she's a goddess, she's so convinced she deserves everything she wants, she'll never be able to respect him. All the effort they're going to have to go through to get her, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. What is she going to add to his life that's going to make his life so much better? A lot of guys are deciding, you know what, it just ain't worth it, and peace out. That's what MGTOW is.
Not creating a plan. For example, if I want to be married, okay, if I really, really want to be married, and I just want to be with my purpose partner, I am not going to be in a marriage if the men that I am letting take my time up do not believe in marriage.
Okay, good. You shouldn't be spending time with guys who aren't interested in marriage. But based on the complaints you made about the men you date, they're not willing to stop liking other girls' bikini photos. They're not willing to cut ties with other women. That tells me that the men you are choosing to associate with are not, and the men you are choosing to date are not interested in marriage. So, again, who are you choosing to date, Jenna?
Okay, so this is just an example. Let's say I start dating a guy and he doesn't believe in marriage, and then we're dating for 2 years and whatever, and then at 2 years I'm like, you know what? I'm really frustrated. I really want to be married. I really want a ring on my finger. Like this isn't what I thought it would be. Well, I can't be mad at anybody but myself at that point, even if I have frustration towards him.
Couldn't agree more. But I think the problem is women like yourself complain all the guys I want to date aren't interested in marriage. Well, look at all these men over here who are interested in marriage. Ugh, ew, gross. I'm not attracted to those guys. Well, fair enough. But the decision is yours. You can't demand that the men you want to date also be interested in marriage. They are free to run around and fool around with multiple girls if they want to, especially if they have options. You could choose to date men who are interested in marriage, but if you're not attracted to them, what's more important to you? Women always say it is most important that he be interested in marriage. It is most important that he have characteristics A, B, and C, but their actions go on to show that no, the reality is they're most concerned about how physically attractive they are.
him because he told me from the beginning that he doesn't want marriage. So if I want the outcome of being married, I can only now entertain men that want that same outcome.
Fair enough. That is excellent, Jenna. But what are you going to say if the only men you encounter who are interested in marriage with you aren't the top tier men that you're attracted to? I mean, are you willing to date a man that you find actively unattractive, but that possesses other characteristics and wants to marry you? We're waiting.
Because you can't change someone, okay? And that's what a lot of women do, and that's where we are flawed. Everyone wants to talk about women need responsibility and accountability. That's one of the areas where we are flawed, and I made this Venn diagram.
And again, all right, she's willing to acknowledge women have trouble accepting responsibility and accountability. I did point out, in generations past, it was very common that a woman's father picked her husband for her. And I think that is our ancestors were smart enough to realize that women are extremely problematic when it comes to making decisions for rational reasons. They are instinctively inclined to follow their tingles and only pick men who are physically attractive. Now, if you ask me, again, good marriageable women are becoming increasingly rare, but one of the best indicators of whether or not a woman is marriage material, what kind of relationship does she have with her father? Is she close to her father? Does she love him very much? Does he love her and care about her? And has he raised her right to value the right things in men, to value men like? And is he a good man? Has he raised her to value men like him? Honestly, that is one of the better indicators of whether or not a woman's actually a risk for divorce and whether or not she's marriageable material. What kind of relationship does she have with her father? And I'd be curious to know, seeing as Jenna did willingly give up her virginity before marriage, I wonder what kind of relationship she has with her father.
That I want to show you. I keep on I'm getting really passionate about this. So whenever women meet men, we categorize them in 3 categories. This is something that I came up with, that I do personally, and I asked my sister and a couple friends, and they agreed with all of this. So we categorize them as either a good boy, a bad boy, or an unsure.
Okay, good boy, bad boy, or unsure. Fair enough. Let's see where she's going with this.
Boy. Okay. The bad boys are usually boys that we really don't give chances to, unless that's something that you really are into. And I'm not talking about like semi-bad boys. I'm talking about boys that are very, very, very bad. These are boys that have no motivation, no self-improvement, possibly drug addicts, no emotions, vulgar, no jobs, can be abusive, they can be mean to people, narcissistic, no passions, they have a lot of baggage, they're very cocky.
I mean, honestly, if guys are cocky, typically it's because they know women are attracted to them and they don't have to be humble. They know women are going to be attracted to them anyways. So she lists a lot of characteristics there that I would say are, I mean, I wouldn't blame a girl for not wanting to date a guy who has no job, no motivation. But again, especially younger women are more than willing to give guys like that some fun time in the bedroom so long as they're physically attractive.
These are things that are very turned off. Like if I'm talking to, these are things that turn me off and that will have me not choose you from the get-go.
Okay, and I wonder, whoever it was you gave up your virginity to, and hey, could have been one guy, could have been a couple, you haven't answered that question. Why'd you choose them? Why'd you choose to give your virginity away to someone who did not commit to you? Was he a good boy or a bad boy? And further, what did you evaluate him on? Love to know that too. And and beyond that, what changed your mind? When you decided to rededicate your life to Christ and become a born-again virgin, what was it specifically that made you stop valuing that kind of man and start valuing men who have good Christian values and don't act like that?
Now, there is a middle ground of unsure boys that have some of those qualities. And this is where a lot of women fall into whenever you...
And yeah, exactly, because women are willing to overlook extreme warning signs like explicitly saying they're not interested in marriage, but oh boy, he's over 6 feet tall, makes $1 million a year, extremely handsome. Maybe if I sleep with him, I can convince him to become a marriage-minded man.
Whenever we choose who we talk to, and it's the wrong kind of men. It's not the good boys, it's the unsure boys, because we see...
And here, it should be pretty easy to weed this out, and the easiest way to weed those unsures out is to not sleep with them. I mean, if you start dating a guy, and he's unwilling to... and he makes it very clear he's interested in fun in the bedroom, and you say, I'm not doing that till we're married, I mean, if he's not interested in marriage, he's going to bail at that point. I mean, it's this unsure. What that might be the case, but it should be pretty easy to figure out what. All you have to do is talk to them for a little bit to figure out what they value. It's not that difficult. Just like all you got to do is talk to a girl or listen to a girl talk in this case, and it's not too hard to figure out exactly what it is she values.
Enough potential in them where we think that we can change them, and those get called projects, okay? Because we think that there's enough potential and we can change them.
How many people have ever heard of one of these successful project stories? A girl took this guy who was a bad guy, but through the power of having fun in the bedroom with him, turned him into an amazing Christian man. I have heard personally know lots of stories of girls who set on this endeavor and it wrecked their lives, and now they're single cat ladies who have no prospects for marriage anymore. I don't know of a single case where a woman successfully changed a bad man into a good Christian man by undergoing one of these projects. I'm not going to say they don't exist. There very well could be some cases out there, just like there are people out there who actually won the lottery. But let's get real. For every person who actually won the lottery, you're going to find millions of people who lost. Yet why is it that people keep throwing their money away at lottery tickets?
That's like that saying that's like, don't date a man for his potential, or a person, because this can go both ways with women. Don't date a man for potential, date them for who they are in the moment. Because you never know if someone's going to change. So the unsure triangle has, they can have money, they can be good with their finances, they can have like a successful business.
Again, she keeps listing all these things. This shows me these are the things she really values in men, not the Christian values, not the willingness to follow the rules. It's abundantly clear at this point that despite what she says, despite what most women say, the thing that she will go to the mat for that is most important to her is that they have all these characteristics, that they be in the top 10 to 20% of men. You can't make this stuff up. It makes me think, there's this song, and I don't know, I only heard it a while back on the radio, but I found it, at the time I looked it up, and the title of the song is 6'2", and it's a woman singing a prayer to God about the man she wants, and the last line of the chorus is 6'2" is my favorite height, but Lord, I don't care what she looks like. And I just remember hearing that and laughing hysterically, because of course she cares. That's why she's praying to God for all these things, and it's emblematic of so many women today. I don't care what a man looks like. I just want him to be a loving husband who, with strong Christian values, who loves me for who I am. Oh, but yeah, if he's also 6'2" and makes $1 million and handsome and everything else, that would be great. What really do they value? And hey, again, you as a woman, that is your right. You are totally free to only want those kind of men and only pursue those kind of men. Just don't complain when you're not married and 35 and living with cats.
They can still have addictions. Again, they can have some of these bad boy qualities, okay?
I mean, addictions, like drug addictions or pornography addictions or whatever else, I mean, that's not enough to turn you off, because that shows that, yeah, the being tall, having a business, having money, being handsome, those really are the most important things to her, and she's willing to overlook some very serious red flags to consider that kind of guy.
Because this is where it meets in the middle. And like I said, these are the project boys. So a lot of girls fall into this trap, and this is the amount of women and the type of women that most of you complain about, because it's the project boys that we think that if we find someone, we can change them, and that's not the case. So then there's the good boys. The good boys are boys that, or I should say men, are men that have healthy thought processes. Healthy thought processes.
And if they have healthy thought process, Jenna, they are never going to consider a non-virgin for marriage.
I can't talk. That have gone to therapy, that have tried to deal with their baggage. Everyone has different things, and not everyone's going to be fully healed from everything, but like, they're working through that. They're good with their finances. They have a plan. They are fit. They have good hygiene. They're encouraging.
Here's another reality. A man who becomes a Christian later in life after living a life of sin, as the church would define it, and as her church will undoubtedly define it, because women tend to value those things in men, height, good looks, money, more than they value Christian values, there are, in fact, virgin Christian women who would probably be willing to overlook the past to marry that kind of guy. There are not, on the other hand, men who stayed virgins because of their religion who are willing to overlook the non-virginity, the lack of marriage quality in women like this. So she may well say, suppose a really attractive guy who wasn't chaste in his past, who wasn't always a Christian, who has baggage, comes along. He's still probably going to pick the virgin Christian girl over Jenna. Jenna's got to accept the fact that she seems, she's at least tacitly here acknowledged she might have to accept a man with baggage, but she doesn't seem willing to accept that she might have to choose a man who's not as physically attractive as she wants. She keeps listing the gym, the money, the business, all that stuff. Jenna, have you considered you might not be high quality enough yourself to make that kind of man want to marry you?
Happy for you whenever you achieve things. These are all good qualities and things that we see as stable whenever we find someone. Again, a lot of women, I've done this before in the past. We think because the unsure boys have qualities of the good boys and they have qualities of the bad boys, we think because they have the good boy qualities, there's potential there for them to grow and turn into a good boy. And that's the idea that we become obsessed with. And then because they have the bad boy qualities, we think, okay, this is a project, I can turn him into the good boy.
And the common denominator there is that the most valuable thing always turns out to be physical attractiveness, money, and the other categories, the things that make men high status, which you're free to pursue that if you want. But that kind of guy, baggage or not, is always going to have options. Why is he going to pick you and commit to you and only you?
Okay, so that's kind of the thought process. So ask yourself today, if you're a male and you're watching this, what category do you fall in? And if you really want to attract a high value, high character woman, the type of woman that you want, think about the woman that you want. And if you want her, I would encourage you to try to categorize here and try to improve on the things that you are lacking.
And I'll say this, I don't feel the need to tell anything about my dating life or where I am relationship-wise right now. It's not relevant. All I'm going to say is I'm perfectly happy with my dating life and my relationship status, and I'm not going to complain about it. But if you are making videos complaining about your dating life, as you did, Jenna, who's at fault?
That way, whenever she comes to you, she will see that, and she won't feel like she has to fix you. So that's kind of that. And that goes back, and this is the last thing, that goes back to if you want to be in a marriage, then you can't choose the bad boys and you can't choose the unsure boys. You have.
All right, Jenna. So we're reaching the end of the video. I'll go ahead and end it here. My question to you is this. If you want to be in a marriage, what do you bring to the table? Why should a man want to marry you? And further, if he's an extremely attractive man who is also a Christian man who values Christian values, why on earth is he going to disregard other options to be with you? Answer that question, please. All right, thank you, everybody, for going ahead and checking this out. Before we get done here, again, Jenna, if you're watching this, you don't have to respond to me specifically, but I'm pretty sure you're aware that I made a response video here. I would like to hear that question answered. If you'd like to come on my channel and have a discussion, I'd be more than happy to do that. But again, here's what everyone needs to understand. If you want a relationship, I don't care if you're a man or a woman. If you want a relationship, great. What do you bring to the table? If you want something, and if you want a person and they don't want you, you're not entitled to them. You can ask yourself the question, what you need to ask, what do you bring to the table? And if you are not high quality enough that you can attract the kind of person you want, you can either accept that and remain single, or you can choose to lower your standards until you can find a relationship. What you cannot do is claim that someone other than yourself is responsible for your singleness. And when women make these rants, guys need to start treating women better. Get real. There are men out there who would treat you better. You are choosing to associate with the men that you choose to date. If you are saying to yourself, look, I am not going to date a guy who, unless he's both handsome, rich, has all these other qualities, and also has the things I want, I'll settle for nothing less than what I deserve, fair enough. Just know you're probably going to be single. And hey, that is my 2 cents. You can take it for what it's worth.